I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Siefken here.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I am on the top side of the dirt, and every day on the top side of the dirt is a good day. So, is this your first class for the day?
I'm second.
Second class, okay. I've been out of school a few days, so I don't remember what time school starts and everything. Like Mr. Carper said, my name is Jared Siefken. I'm a lieutenant paramedic with Burlington Fire Department. I have been in the fire service for about 25 years, but I've worked for Burlington Fire 8 years. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to talk about how I got into the fire service. I'm going to start with a question. How many knows what they want to do after high school? Do you have a plan? You got a plan? Okay. How many graduate? I was told that there's some seniors in here. Okay. When I got out of high school, I graduated in 1993. Dates me a little bit. I had no clue what I wanted to do. My guidance counselor told me, go in the Air Force. I didn't want to go in the military. I didn't want to go to college, not because I didn't like the idea of going to college, but I just didn't know what to do. So at 18 years old, I was kind of lost. I picked up a factory job that paid fairly well, but it was mundane. There was no purpose. I want you to think about that. When you look at a career, does this give me purpose, right? A lot of people do things for purpose. Officer Carper, or Mr. Carper, formerly Officer Carper, he probably got into law enforcement because it made him feel like he had purpose. He was serving the public, okay? That's what I was looking for, but I just didn't know what that looked like. I was about 23. I bought my first house, I had a kid, and I was married. Still lost. I was talking to my neighbor guy, and he said, hey, how would you like to join the volunteer fire department? A little town over in Illinois that I moved to because housing was dirt cheap at the time over there. And I'm like, well, why would I want to do that? I had no desire. I knew nothing. I was 23 years old. I knew nothing about the fire service. So I joined. I did it anyhow. Had my first fire call and was hooked. For the first time, I found purpose and direction. And I knew exactly when I first joined the volunteer fire department what I wanted to do. So I told myself, people get paid to do this. This is a career, right? Why am I not getting paid? I'm a volunteer. So I started to assert myself. I started to pick up different certifications. I started applying for different fire departments. Unfortunately, through the late 90s and then the early 2000s, it was a really tough time to get in either law enforcement or the fire service because cities had budget crunches. They were actually laying off firefighters, laying off police officers. So I decided to go into the fire service at a time where they just weren't hiring firefighters. I tested for Burlington Fire Department in 2001. There was one position open. There was 100 people that tested for a position. I made the top 10, but I didn't get the job. So I just kept moving forward. And every weekend I was testing with the fire department. The testing process is very, very difficult. It's usually a 2-day process. Every fire department is a little bit different, but it's kind of the same in that there's a written test and a physical agility test. Some fire departments even went as far as you did a psychological exam. There was a polygraph. I believe that's illegal now. I don't think they can do that anymore. So every weekend I found myself driving somewhere to test for a fire department. And what I noticed is these physical agility tests, they're tough. They're a timed exam. You're climbing ladders, you're swinging an axe, you're dragging a 160-pound dummy. So I started working out every night when I get home from work. Started jogging, started lifting weights, started working out. Finally, it was December of 2004. I got my first job offer as a career firefighter with the city of Fort Madison. I started with Fort Madison in the following month in January 2005. Worked there for 11 years. When I started with the city of Fort Madison, I had a bunch of certifications. I had been a volunteer firefighter for 7 years. I thought I really knew what I was doing. I got into a career department, and I found out that I didn't know what I was doing. So I started to assert myself even more. Every opportunity I was finding some sort of training, okay? Because when you get into the fire service, probably like law enforcement, you don't quit learning. You don't just get the job and you just do it. That field is always evolving and changing. Law enforcement's always evolving and changing. The fire service is always evolving and changing, so we have to learn new tactics and strategies for fireground, okay? I was getting discouraged when I was going through the testing process because I was getting passed over by a lot of departments. And I ran into he's now a retired battalion chief with Burlington Fire Department. They were doing a safety demonstration at Kmart. Probably nobody remembers Kmart. It's where Dick's Sporting Goods is now. And I said, hey, what do I need to do to become a firefighter? He goes, go to paramedic school. What? Completely threw me for a loop. Go to paramedic school. Burlington Fire Department, like many fire departments, run EMS. That's the bulk of our call volume. Firefighter Miller was here last week, correct? Monday, I'm sorry. She probably talked about the EMS side of her job. Probably 85% of our call volume is ambulance calls. That's the bulk of our call volume. And what's happened was fire departments through the 1960s and 70s, the call volume for fires were more because they didn't really push fire prevention. Going into the 80s, they really pushed fire prevention, and now fire calls dropped in numbers. And they had to justify staffing levels. We have to keep firefighters. So how do we do that? We bring our call volume back up. How do we do that? We start running EMS calls. That's kind of how that got started. So I was told to become a paramedic, so okay. I had already started working on a degree in fire science. I quit working on that degree and I went to paramedic school, 18 months. For me, it was 18 months. Firefighter Miller, her program was a year, but she went like 4 days a week. So like I said, in 2004, 2005, I started with the city of Fort Madison. And I was thrilled, so happy. I got my dream job. I am a career firefighter. And I was content with that. Within my first year, I got promoted to engineer. So engineer is the person who drives the big red truck. A lot of responsibility. And I kind of thought that I was happy, that this is what I'm going to do the rest of my career. At first, I was satisfied with all I'm going to do is drive a big red truck. And the further I went along, the further I got to thinking, I think I want to move up the food chain. What does that look like? So for me, it was going back to school to finish my fire science degree. I had to get some more certifications from the state of Iowa. So I got Fire Officer 1, Fire Officer 2. I finished my fire science degree. It's an associate's degree. I thought it was really, really something. Essentially, the department I was in, I spent 11 years with. There wasn't a lot of room for growth. All the people that were officers were my age, so by the time they retired and a position come open for promotion, I was gonna be retiring myself. So at 41 years old, 5 months post-op for open heart surgery, I tested for the city of Burlington. I was 5 months to the day post-op from open heart surgery. I had a mitral valve repair. And I was really out of shape. And I hadn't done an agility exam in years. And out of 17 candidates, all 25 and younger, I was number 5 on time. I was the 5th fastest. Shocked me. Oh. So, I got offered a job in the city of Burlington, and I started. And I realized that I wanted to continue to move up in the ranks. So what did that look like? I was looking at other fire departments, and they were really pushing education. I thought, well, I have an associate's degree, is that not good enough? Why not get a bachelor's degree? So in May of 2023, May of this year, I graduated from Western with a bachelor's in fire protection services. So here I am, an officer with a bachelor's degree. What do my daily duties look like? I'm educated, I'm experienced. Guess what I do in the morning? I clean the toilets. I take out the trash. I sweep the floors. I'm an educated, experienced janitor at times. I'm okay with that. These are things that I would normally do at my own home. For 24 hours, the fire station is my home. And part of my responsibility as a family unit at a fire station is to chip in. So we do chores. Our daily routine is we start off, we have a staff meeting right at shift change. It's 8 o'clock, about a 15-minute little staff meeting, and then we go right into chores. So we're taking the trash out. We're doing the things that aren't very glorious, but very necessary. We do our truck checks. We do maintenance. We do training. We do a little bit of everything. So some of the jobs that I have held over the years, I started out riding. Every department has different terminology. Some departments call it riding tailboard. In Burlington, we call it the pikeman. Okay. Essentially, you're the guy that sits in the back seat of the fire truck. You're the guy that gets off the truck and makes the hydrant when the house is on fire, and then walks back to the truck, puts an air pack on, and goes into the house, fights the fire. I've held every job on the engine. I do the majority of my time on an engine. Occasionally, when everything breaks loose, I get thrown into an ambulance. Our engine company's broke down. If all of our ambulances are out, and guess what? I'm playing paramedic. But I've held the pikeman position, I've held the engineer's position, and now I hold the officer's position. So those are some of the jobs that I've held within the department. Official titles. What other jobs do I do? I do a lot of inspections. So our fire prevention bureau is one person. He's overwhelmed with paperwork and things like that. So a lot of times the companies are doing the inspections. So it's not uncommon that I'm going to somewhere and looking to make sure they have sprinklers and fire extinguishers and everything's up to code. We are what we call an all hazards fire department. That's an important term to remember in public safety, all hazards, because it used to be the fire service was just, we went on fires, maybe car wrecks, okay? But now we do everything. Besides doing fires, besides going on car wrecks, we do river rescue, we do ice rescue. Somebody falls through a hole in a pond, guess who's going in after? We do confined space rescue. So somebody gets stuck in a tight spot in confined space, we'll pull them out. We do high angle rescue. I've been on a call years ago, high angle rescue, a guy about 115 feet up in the air on a grain bin, had a heart attack. Can't just leave him up there. So we set up ropes and riggings. We're trained to do that. Technical rescue is what we call it. Hazmat. I'm a certified hazmat technician. We don't get a lot of hazmat calls in Des Moines County, but we have a hazmat team. You just don't hear about it much. Probably a good thing. But we are really at high risk for a hazardous material incident. We have two major highways that intersect each other. We have a major railroad going through our town, and we have a river and an airport.
I was telling these guys they'd be terrified if they knew some of the stuff that came out of the railroad cars.
Exactly. Our emergency management person for Des Moines County, is she talking for this class?
She will.
Okay. A couple years ago, she did what's called a commodity study. A commodity study is, it's a study of all the hazardous materials that come through this area on an annual basis. It is astonishing. Since I've been with Burlington, we've only had two major hazmat incidents. We had two ethanol trucks turn over within a week of each other. 7,000 gallons of denatured alcohol spilled out. Other than that, we don't run a lot of hazmat, but we have the capabilities. We provide hazmat for the county. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what my job looks like as far as how does it affect my life, because I see that's one of your questions. I do a 24-hour shift. I'm off for 48 hours. That has been my routine for 18 years. I come on duty this morning at 8 o'clock. I'll get off work tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So I spend 24 hours at the fire station. I eat there, I shower there. It's my home for 24 hours. And then I'm off for 48 hours. Unless there's an overtime shift. So it's plausible that I could do a 48 hours at the fire station. We're a very busy department. 48 hours, it's a long time. We run about 6,300 calls last year. My last shift I worked, we run 23 calls in 24 hours. So we're very busy. How has the fire service affected my family life? It has been a great living. I've supported a family on my salary. I have great benefits. I have insurance benefits. I have a pension. I have paid time off. It's nice when I take a day of vacation, I'm actually off for 5 days. It's pretty nice. In fact, my next shift Saturday I'm taking off just because I like to watch college football. It's kind of hard to do at the fire station because you get part of the game and then you get honked out on a call. So I'll take Saturday off and I'll be off for 5 days. It's kind of nice. It affects my family life in another way though. It's very difficult, and I've spent 24 hours at the fire station, and I haven't slept. We are, by our policy, we have a dorm. We're allowed to go to bed after 9 p.m. There's no guarantee that you're gonna sleep all night. And one of the problems we have is when we're dispatched, we have 3 stations. So the call might be for Station 2 territory, but that call comes into all 3 stations, wakes up everybody on the shift. So you may not turn a tire all night, the other stations might be running the calls, but you're still getting woke up, okay? As an officer, I don't sleep in the dorm, I sleep in the officers' quarters, okay? So when I'm working downtown, it's myself and the battalion chief that sleep in the officers' quarters. Everybody's like, oh, you officers, you slept all night. You didn't have to get up and go out on a call. What they don't realize is we really didn't sleep all night. Because call kicks out, we have to keep track of what ambulance is where. Okay? I may be just laying in bed. I may not be actually out into the elements doing something, but I'm still awake. And I'm still processing. I'm still thinking about what ambulance is where. Who's gonna take the next call? The call comes in and you don't hear an ambulance going around. Guess what? I'm on the phone calling that station. Hey guys, get out of bed. If an ambulance is on scene for extended length of time and dispatch doesn't do a welfare check on them, guess what I'm doing? I'm getting out of bed, getting on our base radio in our officers' quarters, saying, hey, are you okay? Right? Checking on my crews, make sure they're okay. So that means I don't get a lot of sleep. I come home tired. How does that affect my family life? It does. My wife has pretty much figured my first 24 hours off, I'm kind of worthless if I haven't slept. A lot of times I'll come home and try to get a little nap, but you're still just kind of dragging tired.
You probably have to miss a few things too from family.
What's that?
Probably have to miss a few birthdays and.
That's a good point. So my job means I've missed birthdays. I've missed anniversaries. I've missed family functions, holidays. So we don't get weekends and holidays off. My 24/48 is a rotating shift. So it's not uncommon that it falls on a holiday and we don't get holiday pay. It's just another day at the job. So it's not uncommon I'm working Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. It's not uncommon as far as my family that I'm missing family functions. My kids are all grown and we're empty nesters now. We have a 3-year-old golden doodle. That's our kid now. But it meant missing ball games and band concerts and things of that. That's what we do as civil servants. We unfortunately miss some of those things. I'm very fortunate though that any events that happen in the city of Burlington, I take the big truck to that event. A lot of football games over at the Recplex. Guess who took a big red truck over there? Watch their kids play football, okay? So that is a perk of the job. You're still in service, you still have to take calls, but you get a chance to see your kid play whatever. I guess we can go into questions.
I know one of them mentioned they would like to see it back. They just step out.
We sure can. I brought it with me. So, you guys wanna go out and see what a big red truck looks like?
Alright guys. Let's go out quietly. Somebody put a name on it. Well, that-
Can you not? Thanks.
Marshall,